Finally, after 50 hours of recording, analyzing and editing this video, it is done. I hope you're gonna enjoy it. I hope you're gonna learn something from it and it's gonna help you. If it does, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to this channel. Let's freaking go!
Just like every other human being, every sniper behaves differently. Each has its own character, and its power shines through depending on the situation. But with each being unique, having its advantages and disadvantages, the question is, which one fits you best dominating Call of Duty Mobile?
Alright, pushing that overdramatic voice a little bit to the side and focusing on the core of the message. Basically, then you will start noticing that there is some truth behind it, cause in Call of Duty Mobile, each sniper has its advantages and its disadvantages. And based on your playing style, maybe you are a rusher, maybe you are a hardscoper, maybe you're just like trying to be in the medium range, sniping there a little bit around. Based on that playing style, you will always kind of have a perfect matching sniper for it. And that is basically what we're trying to find out in this video today, but be warned, we're not looking at every sniper in the game, but just the ones that are currently running the meta. And I'm talking about the Outlaw, DLQ, Arctic and Locus. I've been looking and comparing the snipers based on how they're performing in situations. This means I've looked at how fast you can move with each one, what their fire rate is, no-scoping abilities, hitboxes and ADS time. In the end, this is what I came up with for each sniper, whereas the green font means the sniper was performing best, yellow stands for second place, orange for the third and red for the fourth and last spot in the ranking. And some results actually came out as a surprise. For example, let's start off with the Arctic 50. I mean, we all know already that it has the highest fire rate as it is a semi-automatic sniper. No other sniper came that close. The Arctic fires 1 bullet per 0.55 seconds, which is double as fast as the Locus or 3 times as fast as the DLQ. Now the interesting part about this is that the Arctic is actually doing a fantastic job in no scoping. To test it out, I was positioning myself with each sniper in the same distance to that wooden target, and the Arctic actually hit each shot on that distance, and not just barely, but almost in the center. Now on long range that doesn't help much, but on close range fights, once you stand still, you can laser opponents with that gun. It's just mind-blowing, guys. No need to actually scope in. Let's say, for example, opponents are rushing you like crazy and you have to start sliding around, avoid the shots, and at the same time you have to try to hit a shot because otherwise you're doomed basically as a sniper. Well, then things can become quite difficult as you need to have very good quick scoping abilities, a high accuracy to get out of that situation safely. With that Arctic, however, the situation changes completely now that you have the knowledge that you can basically no-scope opponents on the close range. Basically, this gun works at this distance as a shotgun, and don't tell me that this gun is not broken, cause guys, it is in that range with non-scoping. I gotta say, however, there is just a tiny limitation to it, which you will notice when you're starting to run and suddenly there's an opponent in front of you and you try to pull the trigger. Basically, it's gonna take a little bit of time until the bullet gets fired, so that's something you gotta notice. So either you stop early and you're not walking, or sometimes also when you're jumping you can shoot earlier. So these are kind of the tricks you gotta know about non-scoping with this gun. Also, the hitbox of the Arctic 50 is quite large, which is on top of that giving you good chances of one-shooting opponents when no-scoping. However, the ADS time is quite slow and this sniper has the slowest movement speed. We will take a closer look at those parts while we are going through the other snipers. For example, the Outlaw is a very good counterpart to the Arctic in some aspects. For example, it is the one that has the best movement speed and ADS time, so in terms of rushing or flanking opponents, it is most certainly the better option to go for. At least that's how it appears on the first view. When I was letting all snipers compete each other in a marathon, the Outlaw outrun all the other snipers by far. I was running with it a lot quicker on the map Crossfire from one side to this green car. No other sniper had a chance. In the end, these are all just milliseconds, you can see, but Call of Duty Mobile is such a fast-paced game that even milliseconds can make a huge difference when you're playing on high tiers. And that also applies for the ADS time. The Outlaw has the best time in terms of scoping in with the ADS and shooting afterwards, which would suggest that it is a perfect gun for rushing opponents face to face and storm the front. Like I said earlier, that's just the first impression. This is because the Outlaw has a low firing rate, it has a low no-scope accuracy, and on top of that, it has the smallest hitbox compared to all the snipers. So if you're just rushing straight into opponents, you're gonna have a difficult time. And as we touched already on the hitbox and that it has the smallest hitbox for one-shooting opponents, I think it's a good way to actually compare it to the DLQ, which has the biggest hitbox, because there is something really special and weird going on with the Outlaw that is not taking place with the other snipers, and you've got to take a closer look if you want to understand that weapon better. So just by trying out some shots at this bot, it starts to become clear that the DLQ definitely has the biggest hitbox, and that translates it in being one of the most reliable one-shot killers in the game. Afterwards, the Arctic is also performing quite well, and lastly we're having the Outlaw, which actually and on the first view is not having a much smaller hitbox for one-shots than the Arctic or Locus, but the biggest difference is that when you hit the opponents at the hand or arm, well, the Outlaw is hit marking, and that turns things around again. And that is because when you face opponents face to face, they obviously cover their body with their hands to some extent, which is automatically making the area smaller that will one-shot them. And I guess you agree with me that this is a very huge issue with this gun, and of course just the way how we need to play with it successfully. Instead, the DLQ is just a beast compared to that, cause you can play with it on medium, long, sometimes also on short range, and that is because of the large hitbox, of course. It's making it a lot easier to hit opponents. However, if you compare then again the DLQ against the Arctic, obviously the Arctic with the no-scope shots and also with the high firing rate definitely make it superior in the close range fights, which is something also important to remember. So I just would suggest that the DLQ is basically the best one in long to medium ranges. Other than that, there is not really a lot to say about the DLQ, as it performs poorly in all other disciplines we have measured it against. It basically has small chances to no-scope, it has bad movement speeds, it has the worst fire rate and the worst ADS time. And that, ladies and gents, leaves us with the last sniper in the list, the Locus. Again, on the first view and based on the bullet points, the Locus doesn't seem to be very special as it has no outstanding performances, but looking closer it actually performs in every discipline well, except for the hitbox. Overall, however, it is a pretty solid gun. It is balanced on all ends and is therefore one of the easiest ones to use. Of course, against other snipers it would lose, for example in the close range against the Arctic, but if you don't let those situations happen, you're very much likely to be able to dominate your opponents. If I would need to describe the results with a few words, I would say that the Locus is rock solid in every situation. Most likely if you're just starting as a sniper, the Locus might be the best gun to go for since it is so balanced and it has no major disadvantages, and even if you're a higher tier player, I think it is helping you a lot to establish good map control. I would say it is a very reliable gun if you land the shots, and as soon as you get the hang of it, you will most likely be able to dominate the matches you're playing it. However, there is one drawback, and this is something I experienced by playing with this gun, and that is occurring in the close range matches or fights. Basically, the problem is due to its small hitbox, you're gonna have troubles to one-shot opponents in that range, and even the good firing rate and the no-scope abilities are not really making up for it. So this is really like a disadvantage you gotta focus on, and the only gun which is really like super helpful in close range fights is definitely the Arctic. So let's wrap that up as well. The Arctic is basically, like I said, one of the best guns to go into close range fights. Its ability to non-scope opponents is definitely going to improve your your life quality a lot in this game when you're fighting against opponents. Basically, if that gets public and it gets used by players a lot, then you can be sure that nobody is really going to try to go into close combats with you against the Arctic, which is really cool. Now to the very special patient we're having here in the list, which is the Outlaw. To be honest, I'm not really sure how good movement speed and a fast ADS time is gonna bring you a huge advantage if we also consider that the Outlaw is having a slow shooting rate. So in the end of the day, if you're scoping in fast but you're not shooting fast or shooting multiple shots at the same time, well then rushing is not helping you a lot, because you're often confronted when you're rushing opponents with multiple opponents and you gotta be quick, especially on high tiers, otherwise they're gonna take you out. And then again, in those rushing situations, you're having a very small hitbox, you're not allowed to hit the hands. I mean, it doesn't really make it sound like a very good option for rushing. So the only way I can see this play out is if you're, for example, a player that likes to flank opponents from angles where they're not expecting you, so for example from behind or from the side, or when you're standing on top of opponents, then this is decreasing the chances, of course, that you're hitting the arms or hands, and then the Outlaw is becoming really a beast, but only in that situation, face to face. Definitely the Arctic is having there a huge advantage, and the DLQ as well. And again, this leaves us with the last weapon in the list, which is the Locus. Let's wrap that up as well. And the Locus, like I said, is just a very well-rounded off gun. I think you can use it almost in every situation except for close range fights, where the Arctic again is better. But I think it's very versatile, you can use it in a lot of situations, and it is a very stable gun, so definitely for beginners it's well, but I think also to play consistent with a sniper, this gun is really good, so you can dominate in a lot of situations, also other players, other snipers, and I think it's really as well a very good option if you're just looking for a solid sniper that is consistently delivering good performance. And yeah, this is basically all I wanted to say for this video. I hope it was not longer, or roughly 10 minutes long. In the end, the message of this video is each sniper has its advantage and disadvantage. I listed them all in this video. I hope this is gonna help you to find your best sniper. Let me know in the comment section which one you're gonna go for based on those suggestions. And we are going to see each other in the next video. It was a pleasure, guys. Peace out.